For the past few years, the DJI Air series has kind of been the black sheep in DJI's drone family. It lacked that special something to make it stand out among the crowd of otherwise impressive offerings. Realizing this, DJI has decided to give the Air series a much-needed makeover that bridges the gap between the Mini and the Mavic Pro series very well. And although the Air series used to be one that you'd skim over just because it didn't have that clear identity, this year DJI is changing that by bringing over one of the Mavic Pro's best features, a multi-camera setup, but into a more compact and budget-friendly package. Now, funny enough, from my earlier Mavic 3 Pro review a few months ago, I predicted something like this coming out. Although I was thinking it would fall more between the classic and standard models of the Mavic 3 Pro. What DJI has done is ditch that 166mm super telephoto lens, which, as incredible as it could be, didn't really match the performance of its counterparts, especially after dark. What I really wanted to see was that 70mm medium telephoto lens that the Mavic 3 Pro introduced being offered on a cheaper model. So that's exactly what the Air 3 is doing by bringing some fresh air to the series by being the first to adopt a dual lens setup, a main 1/1.3 inch 24mm f1.7 as we see on the smaller and cheaper DJI Mini 4 Pro, but now paired with that 3x telephoto 70mm f2.8 which we have from the Mavic 3 Pro. And although the Mavic Pro series boasts the 4/3 Hasselblad f2.8 sensor for its main 24mm lens, which does support more professional formats including Apple ProRes and even 5.1K at up to 50 frames per second, the Air 3 still impresses with its smaller sensor, which offers remarkable dynamic range and exceptional low light performance. The similarities continue over to the upgraded omnidirectional optical sensors, which are also found on the Mini 4 Pro and the Mavic 3 Pro. Now, although it's 240 grams lighter, it manages to take the lead over the more expensive Mavic 3 Pro with a ridiculous 46 minutes of flight time and a max flight distance of 32 kilometers. While it might not be a game changer in terms of any new hardware, it's inching closer to the affordability of the Mini series while offering that second lens for just about $340 more, which for some might be exactly what they were looking for. Now, you can't talk about DJI's drones without discussing their pricing and combos. For the past few years, I used to recommend just buying the cheapest standard package, which here is priced at $10.99. It includes the drone, the RC-N2 controller, which does require your smartphone for operation, one battery, and a few basic accessories, including extra props and things like that. But that all changed once I got my hands on the upgraded touchscreen with the original DJI RC with my Mavic Mini 3 Pro. Since then, I've never looked back. And while I hate to say this, it really was a game changer as it works independently and eliminates the need for that clunky phone holder for your video feed. It's more reliable and it doesn't drain your phone's battery. It's amazing. So trust me on this, unless you plan on flying the drone only occasionally or very recreationally, the extra cash that you'll shell out for the upgraded controller is well worth it in the long run. Now, for those who want that extra flight time, you can upgrade to the Fly More combo, which is available for $13.49. This package adds 2 extra batteries, a charging hub, a shoulder bag that honestly I never use, though it does still keep that basic RC-N2 controller. You instead have to drop $1,549 to upgrade to the Fly More combo with the RC2 remote controller. So if you just want everything that you'll ever need out of the box, this is the combo to consider, but very expensive. The pricing strategy here makes me scratch my head a little bit because unlike the Mavic Mini 4 Pro and before that the Mini 3 Pro, which had the RC2 controller available in a basic bundle for just $200 more, the Air 3 makes you upgrade to its most expensive bundle to get that same controller out of the box. Without a doubt, this is probably a marketing choice by DJI to nudge you into spending more on accessories that you probably won't fully need just to get that better controller. Now, for a lot of people considering this drone, there might be a small elephant in the room, and that is the smaller sensor size. The Air 3 might seem like it's downgrading its sensor by switching from the 1-inch fixed aperture sensor found on the Air 2S to the smaller 1/1.3 inch sensor, which we first saw on the DJI Mini 3 Pro. But don't let those smaller numbers fool you, because just as with the Mini 3 Pro and its successor, the Mini 4 Pro, DJI has shown that they're more than capable of delivering better low light quality with these smaller sensors, thanks in large part to their faster aperture and of course the improved software magic in the background. The Mavic 3 and Mavic 3 Pro, while impressive in their own right, introduced a unique challenge with their multiple lenses, and in a lot of situations it felt like you were juggling different tools that didn't really work too well together. When it came to editing and matching the shots later on, it could be a real headache. DJI has gone with the same 12 megapixel upscale to 48 megapixel 1/1.3 inch sensor for both its main and medium telephoto lenses. This move helps you ensure that image quality and features, functionality all remain consistent between the different focal lengths. Again, it's only after the sun sets that you'll find yourself moving back to the 24mm lens for that better low light performance, where its 1.7 aperture allows you to keep the ISO levels much lower. But with good lighting, both of these lenses perform pretty much the same, eliminating that awkward juggle of going back and forth that you previously had. Since the release of the sub 250 gram Mini, DJI has allowed the Air to continue to put on some mass, giving it some important advantages that otherwise its restrictive size didn't allow. This gives the Air 3 more resilience in challenging weather conditions, ensuring stable flight. Plus, they managed to squeeze in a larger 4,241 milliamp battery, delivering, again, a respectable 30 to 35 minutes of real-world flight time before you get that low battery warning and you need to head back home. And even though the Air 3 is still more compact and lighter than the Mavic 3 models, the difference between them has shrunk dramatically, and of course the size savings here aren't as big of an advantage compared to, say, the Mini 3 Pro or Mini 4 Pro. And even though the Minis have the same size controller, you didn't really have to think twice about bringing it or not just because of how light and small they were. And unlike those mini drones which could fit into basically any small space, on the other hand with the Air 3, if you're trying to pack light, you may not bring it along. When it comes to image quality, there really aren't any surprises here. The Air 3 is essentially identical when it comes to the Mini 3 Pro and now the Mini 4 Pro's main lens, as well as the Mavic 3 Pro's medium telephoto. Because of this, you're not going to find any advantages with image quality over the more affordable Mini 3 Pro. Both lenses support up to 4K 100 frames per second in 10-bit with D-Log, HLG, or standard being their picture profiles. For stills, you can either take 8-bit JPEGs or 12-bit DNGs at either 12 megapixels or 48 megapixels upscaled. For many of my tests, I couldn't really tell the difference between the two. In fact, for a lot of them, 12 megapixels actually looked a lot sharper, so you can actually save yourself a little bit in terms of file size and just go with the smaller images. Both of these lenses still have a fixed aperture, meaning that you're going to probably want to pick up a set of ND filters in order to maintain proper shutter angles when shooting during the day, though of course if you don't mind higher shutter speeds and a lack of motion blur, you don't have to do this. Now, as someone coming from the Mavic Mini 3 Pro, it still has one key advantage. While the Air 3 also supports vertical video as well, its 9:16 footage is limited to either 2.7K or 1080p. All it's doing is a digital crop to its footage because it's not physically rotating the camera, unlike the Mini series. And while you might think that this is only suited for social media, you'd be surprised how many professional clients actually are requesting these kinds of videos to be captured. But of course, the biggest selling feature here is that new, old 70mm lens carried over from the Mavic 3 Pro. While I was testing the 3 Pro, I actually found myself mostly using this medium telephoto lens just because of that versatility. The main 24mm lens is great for those wide shots, but when switching to the 70mm, it adds a new level of dimension which allows you to get closer to the subject, tell stories a little bit better, and capture those fine details. For me, basically having that same wide-angle lens for the past couple of years on our drones just got boring, whereas now I feel like we have new creative ways to use our drones. And now when combined with this upgraded tracking and obstacle avoidance systems, you can capture some incredible shots with minimal effort. Whether you're trying to do parallax or following shots of spontaneously moving subjects, it locks on very well. And even when tracking fast-moving four-wheelers, boats, or people running, the Air 3 had no trouble keeping up, even with that 3x lens. So there you have it, the Mavic Air 3 seems to have finally found its identity. For a lot of people, adding that second medium telephoto lens on a cheaper drone is exactly what they were looking for. While the Air 3 isn't as compact as it once was, the savings it offers by not having to upgrade all the way up to the Mavic 3 Pro may be worth it. So thank you again for checking out this review of the Air 3. Let us know your thoughts on this drone in the comments down below. This has been Paul with makeuseof.com, and until the next one, we'll catch you later.